Victoria, Maine. We're here with one of our regular panelists, Keely Gelano of Polished Perception, local producer. Our two guys are out today, Brandon and Francis, with various afflictions. But we have as our special guests, Riki McManus and Shari Marshik from the Upper Midwest Film Office to talk about all the cool things that have been happening and all the cool things that are going to happen and just get everyone up to speed. So either one of you guys kick the football off and let's start this game.
Shari, take it.
I was just going to say, you could take it. Well, it's been a really fun fall. We have had a lot going on. We're really excited about a lot of things that are happening right now. And where should we start?
Let's start with what just finished. We had 2 feature films that just finished this last week. And how doggone exciting is that? And honestly, both Shari and I were a little concerned. 2 at once.
Yeah.
But it worked. It worked. Thank heavens.
Yay.
And great projects, great people, great crew, great cast. And here's the really cool part. They hired a lot of people from Minnesota. They hired a lot of people from the Iron Range. They hired a lot of people from Duluth. They spent a lot of money, and we are just over the rainbow over this. Hills, rainbows, or I don't know, sawdust. We're over any of those things.
So with 2 films at once, I know that you were concerned about crewing those up, and I know they were concerned, and so it sounds like that worked. That worked out.
Go ahead.
It did. I mean, we made it. We made it, right? Like, we've got it, and they got their projects made. There are a couple of things that happen when you have 2 shooting at the same time. Both teams, both crews felt like they didn't have a lot of local crew because our single local crew that could help crew up 1 deep was split in half. And so that sometimes feels like it's a little bit lighter than we actually really are. But the cool thing is that our whole crew base got experience at the end of the year and got it in by the end of the year and got paid by the end of the year. And that's a really, really good thing. But, do we have more that we need? Oh my gosh, yes. And anybody that is interested in working in film and TV needs to contact us, and we can tell you how you can get involved. But it worked, and we found our stretch point, and now we're working to fill those holes now. And every time we do another project, we fill even more holes, and we get people more experience.
One thing that I thought was so interesting is we had a workshop right before the film started. And so some of those people stepped off our workshop and stepped on the very next day to production.
Oh,
So,
that's awesome.
I mean, we were thrilled, and actually the participants were very thrilled too, because they didn't have any time to think about it. They just went right to work the next day.
nice.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna do this again before the end of the show for sure. But just tell folks who might want to get involved in the film and TV industry locally. Just tell them where to go, what your website is. Let's just do that real quick.
Right.
And then we will remind them at the
Yeah,
end.
www.uppermidwestfilmtv.org. It is the longest URL
It
in
truly
history.
is.
We
It
know that
truly
it is. But yes, uppermidwestfilmtv.org. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We put a lot of information out on social. And if you want to be in the production guide, which we highly, highly, highly recommend, we really need you all in the production guide, you can find that under Work Here on our website.
Work here.
Yes.
Under work here. So I know that a big part of, let's talk for just a second about, one of the big things we're working on locally is trying to get that training pipeline so that we can keep crewing up these projects as more of them come. We hope that this grows. So talk a little bit about that. I mean, you guys are doing the trainings. You're also working with the local colleges. Talk about that a little bit, how you're trying to feed that pipeline.
Actually, Lost 40 has put together all of our workshops so far that have been fabulous. They're a great partner. And what we're doing is we are training for what we call below the line. And that is really blue-collar workers. It's grip electric, it's locations, it's production assistants, it's a lot of
Set
people.
decorating.
Yep, art department, absolutely. And so that is really important to us. There are other organizations out there like Catalyst and like Zeitgeist that are training more above the line, but the bulk of what we are working with right now is what we need right now, and that's below the line. We need people to step in and work right away. And so our 3-day intensive workshop has been a great way to get people in the industry in a very fast way. I mean, a 3-day workshop, and you can go on set with the next production.
Yeah.
And what we like people to understand is that 3-day intensive is a really good way for us to try it out, to dip your toes in the water and say, is this something for me? We are under no preconceived notion that you come out of a 3-day workshop and you are all experienced and you have it done and you're the most experienced person out there. We understand that. But we have it built into the system that there's an incentive for them to hire, for incoming productions to hire people that are coming out of those workshops. And so it's a great first step. Looking forward, we are looking forward to doing a couple of different things. We have some ideas about doing very specialized workshops. In other words, a grip and electric specialized workshop, so people can start to work together, understand a little bit more about that job, and get a little bit deeper into that. It happens over time. Experience is very, very important. And the more experiences we can bring here for people to actually work on the sets, the better, because we do believe that doing it actually is the best way to learn it. But we are working with a lot of different people to do that, including the state of Minnesota, MinFilm TV, to try to figure out how we're going to pull together even more in-depth workshops going forward.
And Keely she's still working on a film that just wrapped, and you used, 2 or 3 of the workshop participants that just got off.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that I could say between the last project that we did, Mary Kiss Cam, to body language, is that we pulled from your workshops and the local people. And even though there is only so much crew in this area, we quickly saw people move up in the ranks on our next project. So those people that started out as PAs eventually now had better paying, higher, more responsibility because they had just that one bit of experience. So we're able to really draw from the local pool now, which is really cool.
One of my favorite stories of one of our production assistants that has done like 3 or 4 now is she is now able to pay all of her bills, and she's paying her bills forward, and because she has steady employment, pretty steady employment, it has been fairly steady, and then you get a little break in the middle, and then you start on the next one. But it's stories like that that just warms my heart, because that's exactly what we want to see happen. We want to see people having good paying jobs and be able to support their families.
Well, and so let's talk a little bit about, I mean, obviously, the goal here is to continue to grow this industry. So talk a little bit about the kind of outreach that you guys are doing in conjunction with the other entities, Minnesota Film and TV and blah, blah, blah. So just talk about that. How are you guys bringing the projects? What are you doing to bring the projects?
I think this is a really good time to go back and do a recap of the fall and the festival season. And festivals are very, very important to the ecosystem and to how this all works together. So this fall we finished, in the spring you'll remember that we had the Zeitgeist Festival, and then now in the fall we had the Duluth Superior Film Festival, Minnesota Web Fest, and Catalyst. They formed the North Star Story Summit, and that was an incredible step for all of us in the Northland for a lot of different reasons. Each one of those festivals caters to a specific group of people, producers, creators. But what everybody needs to understand is 90 to 95% of the economic activity that has happened because of connections made at those festivals. Catalyst is an extraordinary feeder into the region, and that is why we have had some of the projects that we've had. So the festival season is very, very important, and we do a lot of outreach during that time. That is our busiest time of year. We spent a lot of time. We had team members come on to help us. We'll forever be grateful for Vera, holy moly, and Sydney. They really helped us get on our feet for that time period. And each year we get a little bit bigger and a little bit more. So we're excited about that. So what happens is after that, everybody's like, "Oh, are you so glad the Catalyst is done?" And we're like, "Yeah, no, it's not done yet." Because then the next couple weeks we have people filling our calendars with meetings, which is really, really, that's what we want.
We love it.
We want people calling us saying, "Hey, I heard your talk. Hey, I talked to somebody else. Hey, I saw downtown Duluth. It's gorgeous. Hey, I heard about the Iron Range on Riki's her tour. I saw it and I want to shoot there. How do I know more?" So there's a lot of follow-up, a lot of projects. I think we've added probably 16 projects to our list since October. Not all of those will shoot, for sure. There's no way all of those will shoot, but that's how we fill the system right now. And then there's a lot of other outreach that we do too. But that is a huge portion, and we are so grateful for that team, for Duluth Superior Film Festival, George at Minnesota Web Fest, and Philip and team at Catalyst, because they are so important to us.
That is really about 90 to 95% of our business comes from that.
Sure, I would imagine so, because you've got people, coming to Duluth,
Yep.
seeing Duluth, meeting other creators, thinking of projects that could shoot here. It's ideal, and that feeds the machine.
Absolutely.
And that's what we want.
They're very important to us.
So, and this year having the first North Star Story Summit was really fantastic. Having all three of those things here was just great.
It was fabulous, and we are so thrilled to see so many more Duluthians come out for it, because we would love to have more people come and see what's happening, because it's fun, it's exciting. You can watch films that have not gone out yet to the public, or you can see series, or you can see all sorts of content. You can watch a live pitch, and there's just so many different aspects that people can get involved with, and I think it's very cool. It's very exciting.
She brings up a really, really good point, was that this year we were like, how do we let the community know that you can take part in this? Because we did an informal poll, and a lot of people were like, "I don't think that's for me." And that's exactly what we want everybody to know, is it is for you. So if you're watching this and you've never been to a festival, I actually learned this a long time ago when I first started in here, that actually anybody can join festivals, anybody can go watch, and you watch some really cool stuff, you watch some weird stuff, you watch all of it, and that's the fun of it, right? Because what's weird to you might be really, really fun to me. So it's a really awesome chance for the community to get involved, meet people, talk to people, and honestly, the relationships.
Yeah.
Well, and public opinion means more to the people that are trying to purchase this content than their own opinions. If the community comes out and checks it out, that's important. We want to hear your feedback. We want to know if we bring this show to market that it will be accepted. So community involvement is massive.
Yeah.
Well, and you made a good point that, for the parts of North Star Story Summit this year, Catalyst, DS, the Duluth Superior Film Festival, and WebFest, they kind of attract different people, which was very cool, because I was at all of them. And so I can say from personal experience, it's kind of different parts. It's different groups of people.
Yep.
And it was just fascinating to meet all the different folks and figure out, and some things surprised me, like my script, my pilot that I'm working on, The Witches of Gitchigumi, one of the things that happened at Catalyst that was just shocking to me was that young guys really dug the story. And I, the first couple, I thought maybe it was a fluke, right? And after a whole bunch more, these young guys would be like, "Oh, God, I love your story, man. I can't wait. I hope it gets, I hope it goes somewhere." And so finally I said, "I gotta ask. I didn't expect you to be the people that like my story." And I was like, "What did you like?" And they said, "Well, it's the magic. We love magic."
Oh.
So it was like, there was this sort of whole group of people that I hadn't really, if you would ask me in the business plan or whatever, here's my target audience, didn't think it was 28-year-old guys.
Interesting.
Did not, but was very surprised and finally started digging in with them a little bit, and it was really wonderful. So that's just an example of what you're talking about, like people connecting with things that maybe they didn't even expect to, right? Because there's such a variety of content there.
That's so cool.
That's
Yeah.
really cool. I
It-
love that.
It was the best part of the festival for me, because I was like, I didn't expect to be sitting around talking to the young guys, really.
We call those happy accidents too. Like they're happy accidents, and you know, they're important. And I think you know, sometimes people think that, you know, the awards at the end are the most important things that happen, and actually I think anybody that's gone through a number of them understand that it is the relationships that you connect with at when you're sitting at lunch, or you walk through the lounge, or you sit next to somebody at Pitch World and you happen to make one of those little connections. That it really, really, Mike Schultz has a really awesome story about when at the Free Range Festival, how he met somebody and ended up making a film the next year. He met somebody from New York. So there's a lot of different people that at any of these festivals you can connect with and say, hey, we have something in common, or we want to work together. And that is how local people can also be connected to people from the outside. It isn't about necessarily always selling the thing that you have right then. It's about creating the relationship there that we just can't say enough about. And I'll do a plug for just the regular community that isn't in filmmaking. The more that the regular community just is really excited about this and brings good energy to people, you know, if you're waiting on a table that is here, came here for something, or just sharing sort of what's so great about here, that helps in a big way. We hear that over and over and over again, how welcoming we are, and that sells a lot for us.
It really does. You know, and talk about the relationship building and the happy accidents. Actually, that's how Lost 40 started, was at Catalyst, and Carl Gadjusek and Matt Roy and Nick Swedlin were sitting next to each other. They started talking and said, really, we should do something together. And Lost 40 was born.
So we want to clarify for people, Lost 40 is?
Lost 40 is the largest production studio in the state of Minnesota, and it's in Chisholm.
They're two things. They're a production studio, and then they're their own label as well. So they do a couple of different things, but the studio is what, for our purposes, how we recommend people. We don't recommend. We tell people that those services are available via Lost 40 in Chisholm, and that's how people can actually access the rebates, is because of the business that Lost 40 has established. And now we have a couple new ones in Duluth too that we're really, really excited about. So
talk about that. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, Cinema Mechanics is in Duluth, and that's fantastic. So rentals can come through them as well. There are a couple post-production studios that we can't name yet that we're really, really hoping can come and establish in Duluth. So, yeah.
But we still have holes. We need more.
Oh, Lord,
I mean, we need
more,
someone.
So let's talk about our holes.
Okay.
For just a second.
Keely can speak
Did I
to
just
those.
say that? Let's
Oh
talk
my
about
gosh.
the holes in the industry. Talking about there.
Well, you know, the equipment thing is amazing. It's so great to have Cinemechanics, although I think
Cinequip is also
has something here too. So whatever one company can't fill, the other one is kind of coming in. Trailers, that's super important too, but I don't want to talk too much about it because that's part of my business plan. But we definitely need more trailers. That's a huge thing. And still, we need more people doing just the everyday business stuff like catering. I mean, we had great experiences with caterers, but it would be really great to have more options out there.
And craft service too.
And craft service is a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
We did just find a really great company to help us with simple things like tables and chairs. But those type of things are not easy to line up, especially if there's more than one production happening.
Right.
So if we could have more people doing that type of stuff, that would be really fantastic.
It lines up nicely with the event industry too.
Absolutely.
So there's more than one revenue stream. We're super clear that we need to have regular projects in order for entrepreneurs to be able to put down the money and actually establish their business. But we're working on that really hard, and we are excited about the future. And so we're just trying to help create a business environment where people can actually make those investments and then move forward.
Well, and there's so much overlap between these things, you know. It's like people don't think about just needing tables and chairs, right? In all sort of all up and down that line of things that when you bring, when there's 100 people working on a project or 50 or whatever, you know, just all the different aspects that need, and creating that business environment so that people are willing to come here and say, you know what, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to provide this. and I'm willing to take that chance. And
Yes.
I know that you guys work a ton on that.
I know even a smaller business, and yet someone could start this like tomorrow, is walkie-talkies, cones, parking cones,
Coolers,
vests,
vests.
coolers. I mean, all of those things, just having that available for rental would be a
Maybe
great
we
one.
should put together a list to put on your website.
Yeah, we probably should.
That
Probably
actually
should.
wouldn't be a bad thing,
Yeah.
because people could maybe find a place where they see themselves, you know.
Well, and a lot of things, when I say vendors compared to crew, it's obvious that we need crew. But when it comes to vendors, stuff like you just mentioned, to help our locations managers, say we are kind of growing that type of crew here, but they need kits. So they need to have their cones, and I mean, we just bought like 50 safety jackets, and now I'm just holding on to them for the next movie. But I don't want to be holding on to these. Like we want a company here, a business.
Yeah, we want a
that
business
we can
to
rent it
establish.
from.
Right.
So we don't have to figure out how we're going to store things in between projects, and just keep building that community. So
Yeah.
and another thing, I know we talked about we needed more crew, but hair and makeup,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, hair and makeup.
we need hair and makeup that understands the film industry. There was one trailer that we rented from somewhere down near the city. It's so fantastic, such an easy concept of what she did, kind of building out this trailer. And then, having the stylist and the makeup artist to come along with it, because that's still something that we're still having to bring in here from other areas, and we don't want to have to do that. I know it's kind of complicated when so many stylists are used to working every day at a salon, being stuck behind the chair and having all those appointments. But if there's people out there that maybe want a part-time job where
Right.
you have the opportunity to work really hard for 4 weeks or so and then have some time off in between, it's a really great avenue for work and opportunities. So
Yeah, absolutely.
So start that business. If you're out there and you're watching this,
Somebody,
start
yeah.
that business,
please
Yeah.
do.
because we need you.
We're needy.
And contact us for that, because we can help you maybe say, I'm bringing this to the table, and we say, well, here's like 4 or 5 people that you could connect with to
Right.
see, because right now there's a definite zeitgeist of teaching and helping and learning. Yes, there's, I suppose you could call it competition, but it's a happy cooperative competition. We have magnificent leaders that would like people to help people grow underneath them as well. So please, reach out to us through the website, and we can tell you all of the different things that might match your skills.
Okay, so everybody's working together at this point, and it's a beautiful thing, basically.
Kumbaya.
When we get past our construction issues here in the building, I really want to have the folks from Lost 40
Oh,
come
that'd
down
be
and talk,
wonderful.
because I don't think people know much about that, and I definitely want to connect, that way. So let's talk a little bit about, okay, so we know where we are now. Let's talk a little bit about what's the 3-year, 5-year plan here. Where do we want to be in 5 years? Let's talk about that.
Bigger. How's that?
Bigger?
And
More.
more, and
More.
deeper. I mean, deeper as far as crew base goes. So it can easily do 2, 3, who knows, 4 features at the same time. We also need production facilities. We need a soundstage in order to have a series. We really should have a soundstage, but even bigger than that is we need to get rid of the sunsets on our incentives.
Yeah.
That's our biggest goal, because that way we can attract some of these series and other projects. But right now, a series isn't going to come. I know Fargo said, yeah, we'd love to come. But guess what? Your incentive has to be renewed again in 2 years. So if we get there, we start shooting, and then all of a sudden your incentive goes away, that means we have to move elsewhere, and that's very expensive. So no series wants to come until we can get rid of those sunsets on our incentives. And we also need to build our incentives. Yes, we have them, but they're some of the smallest in the country.
So when you talk about the incentives, you are talking about every level of those incentives: state, county, city, we need to have a situation where we know those incentives go on.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think, somebody who hasn't dug really deeply into it might say, well, nobody's going to give you a guarantee forever. None of these are guaranteed. We never ask for a guarantee. What we're asking for is to establish and then say, we will prove to you every year what we're doing, but to not have that definite deadline where they're going to go away, that just it cuts us off at the knees in terms of capital investment from the outside. And so, we have to prove all the time that we're performing, and that wouldn't go away. So yes, we're talking about state especially, because that's where the big investment will come. But as our regional ones do too, we need to be able to say, yes, we will have incentives available next year and the year after that, and so that people can make that investment.
And with that, then, holy buckets, I really think our future is bright. It's very bright. We will get productions, we'll get series. And we're getting productions now, but we need more, and that series could absolutely be fabulous for this whole region as well as the state.
And let's talk a little bit about why series are so wonderful for the locations that they shoot in. Just explain a little bit about why that's so glorious.
So there are different size projects and there's small series and then there's larger series. And one of the projects that we were so excited to have was the pilot for Canusa Street in Chisholm. That was an amazing series for us, our pilot, to have at the very beginning. And what they would want to do then would be to come back, and then so they shot the pilot, then they would shoot, I'm going to make it up, I don't know how 8 more. And the pilot took 15 days of shooting, was, left a nice chunk of change in Chisholm. Now if they come back, now you've got 8 more of those stacked on top of it. So what they spent is similar to what an entire feature would have spent in one episode. So then now we have 8 more of those. So we definitely want that, and all the same people can continue to work on
Long-term.
those. And so that's long-term, more established, probably union employment that we definitely are looking for and we want.
Game of Thrones, 10 years. I want one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, here. It's all about establishing the long-term
Yep.
future of the industry here.
Yep.
So before we go, we have to wrap it up. But I wish we had an hour today because there's so much more. But please give people the Upper Midwest Film Office website again for folks who have an interest in perhaps working in the industry and being a part of the growth that's happening. So just do that one more time.
We are www.uppermidwestfilmtv.org. Riki, R-I-K-I, at uppermidwestfilmtv.org. And I'm Shari, S-H-A-R-I, at uppermidwestfilmtv.org.
Fantastic. I have so much more to ask you guys. I really wish
We could go for
we
another
should have
hour.
got an hour today.
We'll at episode 2.
Yeah. In the new year, we'll come back in the new year when we get after we get the construction part of things done.
Awesome.
Nice.
Thank you guys for being here. Thanks, Keely, as always.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
See you next time.